Welcome to this advanced guide to going from shy to social. So basically you can speak better in any situation. I know right now it may seem like there's some sort of mystical secret that some people who are just naturally good at speaking have that haven't revealed to you or that you've not found out. Like, you know those people who are just, they open their mouths and people just follow their every command. They open their mouths, people are just like listening and drooling to their every sentence. Or sometimes, you see those people where they're not even that funny. But whenever they say a joke, everybody is laughing. And then the interesting thing is, you might have something that is semi-funny, or at least in your mind it's semi-funny, and you say it expecting people to laugh, but what happens? Tumbleweeds or cockroaches. Nobody laughs. Actually, it's not even down to your ability to tell funny jokes. And you see this because there's people who say things that aren't even that funny, but people are laughing. So what's the secret? Is there even a secret? I used to watch, I don't know if you've experienced this, I used to watch so many YouTube videos, read so many different things about how to be confident, or if you're an introvert, how to articulate yourself, or how to be confident if you're an introvert. But it almost felt like none of these things were working. Like I would be watching these videos, reading these things, these articles, but when I got into real life, boom, something would either block my mouth, block my throat, something would either block how I'm able to articulate myself. It just wasn't translating into life. And it can be super annoying, though, because you know some of these techniques, some of these tactics, but it doesn't quite work. Then the question, I don't know if you've ever thought about this, then the question comes in like, is there even a secret? Like, is it just the case where some people are born naturally with this? Is it just the case where because of their star sign, they can do this, they can speak confidently, but that's not me? Or because of their life path number, they can communicate and articulate themselves best, but that's not me? Or is it because their parents were confident, so they learned confidence from their parents, but my parents weren't that confident, so I didn't learn it? Okay, let me just share this. There is a secret, but not many people are sharing actual legit ways for you to become confident, for you to speak clearly, for you to speak better, for you to go from shy to social. Shy to social. Now, I'm here to share with you 3 things that will help you do exactly that. Go from shy to social and speak better in any situation. Whether it's a situation and you're with your friends, whether it's a situation you're with your family, whether it's a situation and you're with, I don't know, maybe you're a parent, you just want to speak better for your kids to listen to you. Or even if you're doing public speaking. This is what I learned it for. I learned it for public speaking. I went from being super shy, super introvert, being the person where when it was Zoom calls, I wouldn't even want to turn my camera on. Not because I was speaking, just because I was shy for people to see my face. To then speaking on many different stages all around the world. So, and I say that lightly because I don't want to say that to sound like I'm some show off kind of thing, or look at me, I speak on stages. No, I'm saying that because legit, there is something you can do right now today to change this all around, change the whole trajectory of your life and your communication and your ability to speak clearly, effectively, and the best way for you. So what are these 3 secrets? The first thing, and make sure to note this down, whether you note it down in the comments or you note it down in your notepad or wherever, note it down somewhere so that you actually do this stuff. Because I know it's very easy to watch YouTube videos, get excited, get motivated, but then you get to the end of the night, it's like, what was that video about again? You have no recollection. So write this down. First one, effectively communicate. This is the first thing I'm going to share because oftentimes people think that confidence beats everything. Yes, confidence is powerful. Yes, confidence can work. Yes, confidence does work in communication. But there's something that's even more effective than confidence, which is effective communication. Think about it like this. Imagine a lecturer at university or college. These lecturers, they are confident in what they're sharing, no? Because they wouldn't be sharing it if they weren't confident. They know their subject matter, that's why they're lecturing. Well, I'm speaking generally here. Obviously, there's some lecturers who are lecturing about things that they know nothing about, but that is the minority. Okay, I'm speaking generally. I'm not firing shots at my own lecturers. Okay, that was not shots fired. So that you can have a lecturer who's confident in what they're speaking. But have you ever experienced a lecturer or a teacher or someone who knows their stuff, but as soon as they open their mouth, you're falling asleep? I know that a lot of my lecturers, after 5 minutes, I was either on my phone or falling asleep. This is the reality for most people who are speaking, even if they're confident in what they're speaking about. I mean, even there's some people who are confident, but you know when they open their mouth, you just don't even want to be in that conversation. Or they're saying something confidently, but you just don't really get what they're saying. Versus, imagine you've got a friend, probably don't need to imagine, you've probably got a friend who isn't the most confident person, but when you go to them for advice, you're listening. Or when they're speaking about something, they might not be speaking about it confidently, but you grasp it, you get it, you want to listen. The thing that beats confidence is effective communication. And what I want to do is in this point is share with you one basically kind of hack that you can do to effectively communicate in anything that you say. To basically, if you've got something that you want to suggest to someone, some advice you want to give, something you want to say to someone for them to actually grasp it and be grateful for you sharing it and almost like clinging to your every word and just be like, make everything that you say seem super valuable. This one hack will help with all of that. This hack I actually learned when I started learning marketing and sales. Note this down. People don't buy into the solution until they've bought into the problem. People don't buy into the solution until they bought into the problem. What do I mean by this? Think about it. You've experienced this. You ever known that something that you say to someone would help them, but they never took it on board or they never followed through? Whether it's some advice that you gave to somebody for, I don't know, that they shouldn't be with their toxic person, their toxic partner, or some advice you gave in business or some life advice, or maybe you knew about law of attraction or manifestation. You tried to help somebody with it, but they didn't quite grasp it or they understood it. They said, okay, that's cool, but they never took action with it. This thing will change everything. Like even if you go back to that person who you suggested something to and you do this thing that I'm going to say now, it will actually work this time. So what is it? Always share the problem before you give the solution. So for example, imagine the other day I found this video about hanging, the perfect hang. When you hang, it's like really good for your system, good for your body, your posture and everything like that. So I recommend that you actually start doing the perfect hang. It's good for you. How do you feel when I say that? Probably it's like, okay, interesting, cool. Maybe I'll look into it. If you're lucky, maybe I'll look into it. But imagine I said this. Right now, I don't know if you noticed, but a lot of people when they're walking around, they have this hunch in their neck. Their posture isn't straight, their neck is hunched. And what they've been seeing is that because most people have this hunched neck, it's kind of leading to things like jaw problems, tooth problems, also leading to back issues. And most people, even in their 20s, are having back problems, back pains and stuff like that, or knots in the back. And the thing is, when this keeps happening and you don't deal with it, by the time you're in your 30s, 40s, 50s, man, your back's locked off, so much pain, it's hard to move, and a lot of these diseases come through and different things happen. But the other day I was looking into this thing that can rectify all of that with just 3 minutes a day. You do this thing where it stops back pain, it stops that hunch forward, which doesn't look super sexy. It stops all of that, just 3 minutes. It's called the perfect hang. And if you do it, basically you hang from wherever. All you could do is standing up and you just pull your arms like this. When you do that, it gets rid of all of those things. So if you've got some pain in the back or you've got some hunched neck, actually chances are this thing will help you. You feel the difference? I wasn't trying to exactly sell that thing there, but I was just explaining the problem that most people are facing, and most likely the person that I'm saying that to probably has back issues. You speak to most people, they're like, oh my gosh, my back. As soon as I mention the stuff with the back, they're already like, well, what's this thing? How to get rid of this back pain? How to get rid of this hunch in the back? Because people are self-conscious now. When they look in the mirror and they see that their neck's hunched over like this, people are self-conscious. So you mention this, these problems that people are going through or the person you're speaking to is going through and the reason why they're going through it. When you then give them the solution, they buy into it more. Or it might even, I'm giving an example with health here, but it could even be anything. It could even be maybe you're giving an example, you're giving some advice to a friend. A friend is in a toxic relationship and you know that person needs to speak to their partner about it, but you just say, you should really speak to them about it. They're like, yeah, I know, maybe, but it's tough because if I speak to them, they're going to say this, or what happens if this happens? No, don't say like that. Tell them the problem. Literally straight up tell them, the reality is, Jessica, if you don't do this, I don't know who Jessica is, this random name, okay, in case you're wondering. Okay, I don't know any Jessicas. But the challenge is if you don't speak to them about this, the way it's going to happen is these things are just going to build up. When something small turns into something big because you don't communicate about it. But right now it feels like it's something big. So if you don't speak about it, it's going to get into bigger. Then you're going to start to have this thing where, I don't know, this is my perspective. You know your relationship better than me, but most likely this big thing will turn into something where you'll start drifting away. So, do you love your partner? Do you want to be with them? Obviously, they're going to say yes. If they say no, then flipping heck. Then this is a different conversation. But most likely they'll say yes. So the way I see it, Jess, is you really need to you probably should speak to them about this now before it gets worse. Because, you know, small things can turn into big things. This is already like a big thing, which will definitely lead to something bigger and drifting away. So I don't think that would be the best thing for your relationship. So maybe you actually just speak to them about this. What do you think? You see how look, I'm thinking off the bat here, and I'm not trying super hard to think of the specific problem for that person. I'm just giving generic problem. But already by giving that problem, it paints the picture in that person's mind, whoever you're communicating with, the exact situation. You know what I mean? When you paint that exact situation, they see all the problems. Then when you give the solution, it's like, yeah, I should just do that. If you just give the solution, the problems are there, but they don't always see it. Then when you give the problem and the solution, they're like, oh my gosh, yeah, that's so true, thank you. Like, so many times I've used this. So many times I've used this in public speaking, in speaking to even my partner, in speaking to even friends, family. I always, with most of the things that I'm doing, I'm giving the problem then the solution. And this isn't a way, I'm not saying you have to do this every time, because there's some times where you just want to make a statement and you don't need to justify yourself or over-explain, but that's a whole different topic. In a lot of situations though, when you want to give some advice or some suggestion, or even if you want to suggest going to the cinema instead of going to the restaurant, paint the picture, share the problem, and then give the solution. Hey, this is the problem. Why don't we just do this? You know, people will be so much more grateful for that solution. So that's the first thing. Effectively communicate, and that one simple hack of sharing the problem before the solution will help you with effectively communicating so much easier. All you've got to do, and this is a generic piece of advice, but helps super well in every specific situation. Before you open your mouth, just think, what is the problem that I'm actually solving here? Like, why should this person do this? If they don't do this, what will happen? Okay, let me share with them what's going to happen if they don't do this, and then let me share with them the solution. So that's first thing. But now the challenge is, you could be effectively communicating, but if you don't articulate yourself well, people aren't going to pick up on what you're saying. People might not even hear what you're saying. People might not even grasp what you're saying. It might be something super important, but not feel important. So the second point after effectively communicating is articulating. Now, there's many things that you can do to improve your articulation. Trust me, there is. I was born in Birmingham in the United Kingdom. Those of you who are not from the United Kingdom, Birmingham and Liverpool in the UK were rated like the worst accents in the whole of England. Some people even rated like the worst accents in the world. So I was born in a place where the accent that I was gifted with, I'm gonna say, wasn't the best at articulating certain words. It doesn't sound the most sophisticated. I still have a bit of a Brummie accent, but I trained myself to reduce that Brummie accent. I trained myself to articulate what I'm saying, to change the speed, to change the tempo, to change the dialect, to change so much so it can be trained. But I want to give you 3 simple things that you can do to articulate better right from now. First one, speak clearly. I can speak like this, and right now my mouth is not moving much, my tongue is not moving much, but I'm speaking. It's kind of almost like I'm slurring my words. However, if I just open up my mouth more, I'm actually looking at my mouth to see how it looks very different. If I just open up my mouth more and I use my tongue to articulate the words, not all I'm not having to speak like this every time, but if I just put a bit more effort into what I'm saying, the articulation comes out better. So when you're speaking, focus on speaking clearly saying your words. And you can do this so you're clearly speaking your words, by speaking slower. Slow down your speaking. You don't always need to be speaking at 100 miles per hour. And the thing is, when you're not feeling confident, what do you want to do? You want to speak faster. Why? Because you want to get it over and done with. I remember so many times people were like, Josh, introduce yourself to the group, or Josh, do this. And when I was speaking, I'll be speaking like this. So my name is Josh, and yeah, basically I came here because I want to do this. I'm not articulating my words because I'm speeding up, because I'm scared, I'm nervous, I'm anxious. But the interesting thing is, even if you feel anxious or nervous on the inside, if you speak slower, you will come across as more confident. But not only that, when you speak slower, you have more time to process what you're saying and think clearly about what's coming up. So now you're not rushing to finish the sentence, and because you're rushing, falling over your words, not speaking clearly, but also because you're almost like speaking at the same rate that you're thinking. It's kind of like you're trying to think faster and then it's like do in the mind. You speak slower. You move your mouth better, articulate your words, express more. Now I've got time to think about what I'm saying. Now as I'm speaking, I'm already like 2 steps ahead of what I'm going to say. Now do you think that will make me more nervous or less nervous if I'm 2 steps ahead of what's being said? Less nervous, more confident. So notice, these steps that I'm giving, it's not about confidence, but they all naturally lead to confidence. You do this, you will naturally become confident and you'll be effectively communicating and you'll be articulating yourself better. And the final thing that I'm going to share with you as well. But before I get to that, the third point within this articulate point, so I said speak clearly, speak slower, but also speak louder. The problem with most people who don't speak clearly or don't speak confidently or don't feel confident in how they're communicating or a bit shy, I guarantee you are speaking quietly. Why? Because that was me. I thought that my normal voice was here. Then I realized that my normal voice, what I was hearing as normal, everybody else was hearing like this. And I was wondering why nobody was responding to what I was saying. I was wondering why when I'm speaking and saying a joke, nobody's laughing or nobody's hearing. Or some people, as I'm saying my name, they say, what's your name? Because I'm not articulating, I'm not speaking loudly. Now, I'm not saying, speak like this, so you're speaking like this all the time, so you're speaking like this to everybody you speak. No, I don't want you to be obnoxious, okay? I'm not sharing these things for you to be obnoxious and start speaking loudly to everyone. I'm just saying, if your voice is here, your voice is actually here, most likely. If you just speak 20 to 30% louder than normally, so I used to speak like this. This was my normal voice, like this. So because my normal voice was like this, I used to think that this was the volume that was normal. But actually when I was in a room speaking to people, people couldn't really hear me. Like, and even when all I do now, well, I don't do it now. Naturally, my voice is louder. But back when I was training this, all I would do was just focus not on making my voice double louder, but just making my voice 20 to 30% louder. Then you'll find that range, that sweet spot where it's not too loud, but it's loud, where people can hear you, people get what you're saying. Especially when you combine it with articulating what you're saying, speaking clearly and speaking slower, and also effectively communicating. Already this will change your communication forever. So now I've spoke about effectively communicating. I've also spoke about articulating. The third and final thing is, you can note this down, recreate. Effectively communicate. I made this so cool. Okay, check this out. I was actually impressed. I did the first 2 and it was a bit like they were rhyming. So I was like, let me make the third one rhyme. I was like, what word? And I was like, actually this word fits. Effectively communicate, articulate, and recreate. Dun, dun, dun. Okay, I'm done. So basically, once you've effectively communicating, once you're articulating, now how can we recreate it? Because think about it. The challenge that most people go through is they can maybe be confident in a session or maybe be confident one day, but then the next day they forget, or the next day they lose that confidence. Or the next day, however they're speaking clearly, it goes. You ever experienced that? Like one day you're super confident, you're super in flow, but the next day it's not there. So how can we recreate this? Very simple. I want you, regardless of whether you're confident, regardless of whether you're a YouTuber, Instagrammer, influencer, celebrity, regardless of any of that, even if you've never recorded yourself, I want you to pull out your phone and record yourself speaking. Testing your effective communication, what I just shared a moment ago. Testing the way you articulate. Speak normally and then change it up. But the most important thing that I want you to do is, once you finish, is end that video, click on it and watch it. Watch it. I know sometimes listening to your own voice can be grating, but the more you do this, actually it won't matter anymore. You won't feel it. The reason why I want you to watch it is because I want you to get a notepad and pen and split it into 2 columns. First column is what went well. Second column is to be improved. You don't need to be a world-class speaker trainer. You know, when you watch someone, you can already tell whether they're nervous, whether they're fidgeting, all these different things. But when you are speaking yourself, you don't notice that, because all of this is subconscious. You don't notice that time when you're twitching, you keep scratching your nose. You don't notice that time when you're looking away from the camera, looking away from eye contact. You don't notice that time when you're saying so many filler words like, I think. You don't notice it because you're doing it subconsciously. When you watch it back, you will notice. I want you to write everything. I learned this from one of my first speaker coaches, confidence coaches. He shared with me, he was like, one column is what went well. You write all the things that went well. Because the next time you do a video, you're going to amplify that. If you are speaking clearly, you're going to speak clearly again. If you are not twitching, not fidgeting, not doing these subconscious like nervous things, you're going to keep doing that. On the other column, the to be improved, what you're going to do is write everything that could be improved. Whether your voice wasn't loud enough, whether you were slurring your words, whether you were using filler words like whether you were, I don't know, let's say you were not using tonality, not using power in your voice, not feeling the emotions, whatever it is, write it all down. The key thing though, when you do your next video, keep all the things that went well. Do it again, do it even better. But don't try to change everything in the to be improved. Pick one thing and focus on that. In your next video, what I used to do was I used to realize, hey, I don't have enough power in my voice. I was lacking power in the voice. It was always like very soft. So I would, in the next video, I would keep all the what went wells, and then in the to be improved, I would pick the power. Even though I knew that I was fidgeting, even though I knew that I was trying to fix my clothes, even though I knew that I wasn't articulating certain things, or even though I knew that I wasn't effectively communicating, I didn't care. In the next video, I used to do Facebook Lives. I'm not saying you should do Facebook Live, you can if you want, or Instagram Live, or TikTok Live, or whatever. It's better if people can see you because then it has that kind of pressure of other people seeing you. But at the beginning, even if you just try with just recording your video, then what I would do in that recording is I would focus on power. So everything that I would say with more power. Everything that I would say with more certainty. That was what I was focusing on. It sounded weird on the recording because it was like, it's almost like everything I was doing, I was shouting. But the reason why I was doing that is because I wanted to build that power muscle so that in the future, I wouldn't always be speaking with so much power. There'll be sometimes where I'll be speaking softer, sometimes where I'll be speaking slower. But I knew that I had that tool in my tool belt. Then you watch that video back again. If you perfected that power, cool, you move on to the next thing. If you didn't, and at the beginning 1 minute you did, but then you forgot and it slipped out, then the next time you record the next day, you focus on power again. You keep doing it and repeating that process until you perfect that power, and that power is in your what went well column. Then you pick the next thing and you move on. This is how you recreate and build these muscles for effectively communicating, for articulating, and then not just making this a one-off good luck thing, but recreating this thing and consistently making this you, making this the new you, the version of you that can effectively communicate and speak. So ultimately, effectively communicate. People don't buy into the solution until they're bought into the problem. So share the problem first, then give them the solution. Articulate, speak clearly, slow down. Not all the time, but slow down. Even if you slow down 20%, give yourself more thinking time. Then from there, you speak clearly, you slow down. Now you're articulating. Now you speak louder. Make yourself be heard. Not obnoxiously loud, but loud enough where it's louder than your normal voice. Because I guarantee your normal voice is very quiet. Or quieter than it should be. Or it needs to be. Third and final thing is then recreate that. Record yourself. What went well, amplify that. To be improved, pick one of those, improve it. I trust this video helped you. Trust me. These were the 3 main things that helped me go from shy to social. And for me, it was speaking on stage, public speaking. That was why I did this. And it helped me tremendously. I know that if you actually do this, I'm saying actually do this because I don't want this to be another YouTube video you watch, feels good, you move on to the next thing. No, take these notes, write in the comments. Let me know where you're going to practice this. Let me know when you're going to start in the comments. If you got any value from this video, hit the like button. If you're new to the channel, welcome. This is Joshua Andre. I'll see you in the next video. Subscribe for more. Much love.